The Windows command line is spawned with command.exe. That's spelled cmd.exe. Depending on how your Windows station is configured, though, when you launch a command prompt, you might not have administrative privileges. Of course, that also depends on if the account you're logged in with has admin privileges or not. But either way, we can start the command prompt with admin privileges as required. So for instance, here on my Windows station, if I go to my Start menu and type in cmd, the command prompt shows up. And so from here, over on the right, I can just open it as is. But if I know I'm going to be typing in things that talk to sensitive parts of the machine that require elevated privileges, then I can choose Run as Administrator, which I'll do here. Once I've done that, the command prompt opens up, and in the title bar, we can see that it tells us that we're running this with Administrator type privileges. Now, one of the things that we saw when Mike did the tour of the command line environment is that we can just have knowledge of commands and start typing them in. Now, for example, one of the things I might type in is the host name command. That returns the name of my computer as it's known in Windows. At the same time, I could issue commands like, who am I? Mike showed us commands like ping and ipconfig. Those are all valid. But one of the great things about this, remember, one of the benefits is that you can start putting these commands together in some kind of a script. Now, at the regular Windows command prompt level, the old school way to do this is to create a batch file where you put all your commands in it. And batch files can get very complex and very powerful. We'll just do a very, very simple example. So what I'm going to do is spawn Notepad, and I can do that right from here at the command line by typing in Notepad. All that's going to go in this is, how about the commands we just typed in? Hostname, followed by who am I on the next line. That's it. Of course, that's limited in its usefulness, but you get the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and save this, and I'm going to save this, let's say, on the root of drive D as a file called test.bat. So let's go to drive D here in the command prompt, so D:, and I'm going to type test. And what it did is it executed my batch file, which simply contains two simple commands. But we can expand on this and build our own custom utility menu level with looping and ask for user input and so on. And that's an important part of really any shell, including the Windows command line. You might have configured Windows computers in the past to support a specific application. Sometimes applications require environment variables. So here at the command prompt, if I issue the set command in Windows, what that's going to do is going to show me all of the environment variables that are currently set and their values. Now, an environment variable could be as simple as my favorite car, which has a value of Ferrari. I don't have a Ferrari, but I wish I did. But it could be anything. Sometimes applications need to see a very specific environment variable name with a specific value. So I could actually configure that here very easily. I could say set fav color equals, and in quotes, maybe let's say yellow. So the environment variable here is called fav color. The value is yellow. Done. So if I were to just run set by itself and scroll back up through the output, then we would eventually see that we've got an environment variable called fav color that has a value of yellow. So that's an important part of working in the Windows command line. The other thing is that we can also work in PowerShell, as we know. But what we can do is start PowerShell from within the command line, because PowerShell itself is just an executable program, just like the command prompt is, cmd.exe. So what I could do is just run PowerShell by typing in PowerShell. And that's it. We're now in a PowerShell prompt. And here in Windows 10, the prefix for my command prompt has a PS, which tells me I'm in PowerShell. Now I could type exit to exit PowerShell, and that puts me back just, in the regular Windows command line environment. So what we're seeing then is that we've got some interesting ways perhaps to automate using Windows command line tools to make things quicker and easier to manage our network.